I'm in Eureka, California, near PALCO Marsh and Del Norte Pier. There are many shorebirds here. These look like these. Oh, I was going to say first these look like gulls, and there might be some gulls there too, but it looks like we also have some type of sandpiper or plover or other shorebird. Usually there's a variety of them here. There's usually egrets or herons, but not today. So, this is salt water. It is not the open ocean, but it's still salt water, so we still have things like crabs living under here. And I have disturbed them. They will find another rock to hide under soon. And you can also see this is seaweed. There is mostly saltwater creatures here. They extend pretty far up. So even though this is not the open ocean, and this is a little bit salty because it's a bay fed by fresh water, this is still the ocean for biological purposes, more or less. The pier is a public pier. It goes out into the water. On a lot of days you can walk around and walk under it. Might be kind of hard today. And there are people that fish from it. That's its main usage, as well as just sightseeing. Doesn't look like there's anybody fishing from it today, but it does get its uses for that. So that was the Del Norte Pier. By the way, that is the proper pronunciation here, Del Norte, not Del Norte. Oh, that wind is blowing. I actually didn't come here to see this. I'm actually going to see something just a little bit away. So this is the PALCO Marsh, and this is the PALCO Marsh Trail, which is part of the larger bicycle trail that goes from the south of Eureka up to the north end of town. And at one point in the future, we'll join the bicycle trail going down from Arcata that we saw when we went to the Arcata Marsh. And this is the PALCO Marsh. PALCO stands for Pacific Lumber Company. So at one point, this was part of an industrial facility, some type of storage facility for logs or something. And then when it was decommissioned, it became, was restored, I don't know, to exactly a natural state, probably not, but for a state where it's kind of a intertidal marsh, a mixture of salt and fresh water, depending on the time of day. And we will see what else we can see in the PALCO Marsh, just about like a half mile along this trail. You can also see just on the other side of this fence we have some rail tracks. At one time, both industrial and passenger rail were possible in Humboldt County. The rail tracks that go through the county are very disused, overgrown. There's a saying, when you see tracks, think train. So I still do that here, but of course that caused some cognitive dissonance because, I see these tracks in places there's tree trunks between them, and I have to remember, well, in this case it doesn't make sense, even though normally, even unused railroad tracks, I try to keep away from. So right now it looks like the tide is mostly out here. Sometimes this can get pretty high with water. And so this is probably brackish water. We have an egret flying by. One of many types of birds that we'll see in this marsh, depending on the day. And that really perpetual mixture of nutrients in from the ocean, so quite a diverse place. The other thing is the aesthetics of this. Look at that kind of straw-colored grass, that mud. Not the most beautiful place, but birds have different senses of aesthetics than people. Also, as a point of it being restored, of course, you still have a lot of invasive or just scrubby plants here, so we have a lot of something in the broccoli or mustard family. This right here, that's fennel. So fennel's an invasive plant, very common here. April, so it's still small. It will get pretty tall in a couple months. So this is one of the culverts that the water goes through, and as you can see now, it's going out. Look at all that foam. Some of that's actually probably natural. A lot of marsh gas and decomposition and oils and stuff here. So right now it's going out, and then twice a day it comes in and brings water in. It going out and being pretty low is maybe why there's not a lot of birds here today. We do have some birds flying over there, but not a lot of birds. Also, it's a cold day. It's also difficult to say because the birds in this region migrate quite quickly between the open ocean on the other side of the peninsula, the bay that we see there, inland marshes, and then upland, you know, into the redwood forests. So depending on the weather and the, you know, the available food, birds are gonna, like, you know, move around from day to day and from week to week and month to month. We saw some type of songbird over there. We have another songbird here. That looks like a white-crowned sparrow. Very common bird along the California coast. Also not an uncommon bird inland in Oregon, but less common there than it is here, where it's, you know, one of the most common birds you'll see. I really like them though. And so one thing about this area, along with, of course, all of the shorebirds like the, you know, herons and the egret we saw, there's also a lot of songbirds that are, you know, just hanging out, you know, taking advantage of the diverse insect and plant sources of food that we see in a place like this. Of course, two birds that can always find food everywhere. Some type of corvid, probably crow. It's hard to tell. They look pretty big from this distance. Those could be ravens. I'm not very good at telling the difference. So a lot of the birds that we see here are going to be, you know, opportunistic, multi-habitat birds that we find everywhere. But there are some rarer shorebirds that we can sometimes find here. This marsh here, which is only about 40 acres all along here, is part of larger complex because there's a lot of parks and areas along Humboldt Bay and Eureka and into Arcata, some of which, like the Arcata Marsh, are obviously a lot more luxurious. And this one, especially today, it doesn't look all that spectacular. But the other thing is that birds have a different sense of aesthetics to us. Like, you know, a bunch of mud with a bunch of marsh grass. Bird, this is paradise, even though there's not any out today. So this entire little complex I showed you is just part of a much larger complex of water access through Eureka, and nice easy place to visit, and hope you enjoyed seeing it.